We can learn so much from fantasy books. Hey guys, I'm Marilyn and welcome back to my channel where I post writing advice videos every single Friday and tons of bonus content. So today I'm still busy with my books you should read to improve your writing series, and we're doing fantasy edition today. So if you know anything about me and if you've watched my channel for a bit, then you know that I basically read fantasy. That is my thing. That's what I like to write. That's what I like to read, and that's what I like to talk about. So most of the books in my other videos are also fantasy, but for some reason I decided that I should do a specific fantasy video too, because that is how much I love this genre. So let's dive in. So the first book is honestly one of my favorite books ever. The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. So you don't have to have read any of Leigh's other books to read this one. It is a collection of short stories set in the worlds that she has created in her Grishaverse series. Guys, this book, what it will teach you about writing is mythology, fairy tale, and short stories. Like I said, it is a collection of short stories, but it's basically the fairy tales that exist in the world that she has created called the Grishaverse. So she creates her very own fairy tales, her own mythology, and it is so interesting to read. I mean, it has these beautiful illustrations that just keeps getting more complicated as the story goes along, and then you kind of have your end illustration. It's amazing. It takes you into a whole other world. So if you want to create a world where you have your own fairy tales, you have your own set of mythology, or if you just want to write great short stories, I would really recommend this book. And the great thing about her stories is also that it doesn't take the traditional route that you would expect it to take. So the lesson in the story isn't the same old lesson that you have about, not trusting strangers or blah blah blah. It's more realistic, I want to say, and it just blows my mind. So yeah, I'm sorry, there aren't really no words to describe how much I love this book, which is why I'm just kind of mumbling and rambling and not saying anything. So just read it. It's amazing, please. So next up is actually the entire series, but I just have the first book, and that is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman, but the series is His Dark Materials. I took out the entire series in one volume from the library when I was in school, and then I just bought the first book for myself. So I don't know if I can really explain what this book is about on my own, because it's such a cool idea and concept, and I feel like everyone in the world knows, if you've watched The Golden Compass, then that's this book. So it is children, no, not only children, people have animal companions called daemons, and they kind of, I think, a part of your soul, or they are connected to your soul in some way. Like I said, it's been a while since I've read this book, and there's kind of this thing about dust, and people are trying to get the dust that is in children or something, but it's very magical, and it is just an amazing read. I'm sorry that I can't explain the story better. I feel like in this video I'm just rambling, but that shows you that these are my favorite books, because they just leave me speechless. So what this book will teach you, well, the entire series, you can even watch the movie, there's a new TV series about it, people love this, and it's for a reason. What this will teach you is world building and creating a magic system. Here it's more of a magical system than a magic system in itself. So in this world we have witches that fly around, we have polar bears that wear armor, and we have children with little animal companions that can change. We have people abducting children in order to extract their dust, and we have intrigue in terms of government organizations and different communities and ships, and it is amazing, because every little bit of this book carries some piece of magic in it, and it all makes so much sense. It's just another world, and you cannot imagine how anyone came up with something this rich and magical. So if you want to create one of those fantasy worlds where people get lost in it and it becomes something that people become almost obsessed with, then please read his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. The third book is The Dark Vault by V.E. Schwab. So this is actually an entire series put into one volume. So it is the archived and the unbound novels, and I think it is young adults, teen fiction. But let me just read you the hook. Imagine a place where the dead rest on shelves like books. That just hooked me immediately, because it is basically like a library or an archive where people who die are kept on shelves, and it's kind of a version of them with all their memories inside, but they're sleeping, but they can wake up. And then what happens is the main character, Mackenzie, I was gonna say Jules, Anyway, Mackenzie is one of the keepers. Yes, I was gonna say hunter. I'm like thinking, oh, Jules the hunter is not in this book. Mackenzie the keeper is in this book. And what she does is, when a memory escapes from the archive, she is the one who's supposed to stop them from getting into our world and exposing everything and kind of creating havoc, because they're not all there, the memories. They become very crazy with kind of the knowledge that they are dead, and they're just not nice then. So she is the one who has to stop that and then return them to the archive. So she is, how old is she? 12. She is 16 in this book, and what this book will teach you is writing a good contemporary fantasy, and also how to write good teen fiction. Because when I read this book, I read it a few months ago, and I'm 21 now, so I'm obviously not the exact target audience of this book, but I loved it. I read through the night, because the thing is, it is a 16-year-old girl, and there are scenes in school and at home and things like that, but it doesn't feel like your average teen fiction, you know, like Twilight-y vibe, although I actually like Twilight, but, you know, it doesn't feel like that, oh, school children obsessed with random nonsense and a taste and goo. Like, it's actually a good book to read about teenagers, even when you're not a teenager anymore. And then also the thing about this is it mixes the real world and the fantasy world so well, and that is actually what I think this book will teach you to do really well, is writing a contemporary fantasy where the worlds kind of have to intersect. And what this book also does really well is mystery. So if you have a fantasy world but you also want to have a lot of the elements of the genre of mystery, then this will show you how to integrate that and keep the reader kind of at the edge of their seats while trying to figure out what is going on, but also creating this awesome world that is linked into our modern world. Before I move on, I just quickly want to say that the links to these books, as well as the actual summaries, will be in a document in the description box below. So I know I'm rambling a bit in this video, I'm not very eloquent today, but if you want to see more detailed descriptions of these books, it will be available in the description box below, because I read a lot of these a long time ago, so I'm not giving great descriptions of them. So anyway, the next book is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. So this book is about it's an entirely created world, and there's this guy called Strange, and he is a big dreamer, which is why it is Strange the Dreamer, which is just an amazing title when you think about it. So, you know, aside from whatever I'm going to say next, if you want to learn about making great titles, this could be the book for you. So it is about Strange, Laszlo Strange, who is a librarian, and he's kind of looked down on in the city that he lives in, but then because he believes in this mythical city called Weep that others do not, And when legendary warriors from the city of Weep actually come to the city where they live, they take Laszlo with them because he has actually studied their language, he knows what's going on, and they have come to the city to find people to help them lift a curse from their city, because a mesanthrium, I don't know if that is the right way to pronounce it, but it's a kind of god's metal angel, is dangling over their city, keeping out the sun. And so Laszlo is taken with, not actually as one of the people to help figure out, but just because he really wants to go with, and he has studied their culture for so long. And then when they get to the city, a lot of interesting things ensue with the mesanthrium angel and the god spawn that live inside. So what this book will teach you is creating original ideas. Guys, I would love to have Laini Taylor's brain, because I don't know how she comes up with these things. Her other books as well, like I read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and obviously the second one in this series called Muse of Nightmares, and it is amazing. It is so original. It's not like anything you've ever read. The worlds, the magic system, the characters, the plotting, everything is just so original. So if you want to read something that is really different to all of the other fantasy things that you see out there, and you want that to kind of inspire you and give you your own really out there ideas, then I would really recommend Strange the Dreamer and really anything by Laini Taylor. The final book for today's video is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabah Tahir. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so if there's anyone who knows if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, please leave it in the comments below and tell me how to pronounce it, because I would like to pronounce it correctly. So this book is about, it's once again a completely created world, fantasy world, and it is about Leia, Leia, who gets mixed in with some of the rebels after her family is killed, and they task her to spy on one of the main commanders of the army. Is it one of the commanders? Yeah. And so she has to go to the top military academy in the world and spy on the commander, and there she meets one of the soldiers who is actually commander's son, called Elias, and things ensue. So what this book will teach you is morally grey characters and political intrigue. So the great thing about this book is the characters are the epitome of what you would call morally grey characters. Not all of them, but many of them. You never know whether you think that character is a bad guy or whether they're actually good. And just when you think, no, they're actually good, then they go around and do something really bad again. And then you think they're bad, and then they do something good, and you think they're good. And you never know what the character is going to do next, because you don't know on which side they are, because they are constantly kind of fighting what they've been taught versus what might be right. And yeah, so if you want to learn how to do characters where people don't really know whether to root for them or not, or they do root for them but they know that maybe they shouldn't, then this is the book for you. And then also political intrigue. This book was a big inspiration for the book that I'm currently writing, which is To Wear a Crown, which is very much about very interesting interwoven political links and how certain power relations work and people who are pulling the strings behind the scenes and things like that. So it's very Roman Empire inspired. So if you want to learn how to write morally grey characters and how to write a great political fantasy, then this book, and in fact the entire series, is the right book for you. So that is it. That is all that I have for you guys for today. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want writing advice videos every single Friday and tons of bonus content, then you have to hit that subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss any of my uploads, then you also have to ring that little bell. If you have your own recommendations or any requests for writing advice videos, you can leave it in the comments below. As always, you can find me on my website, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the links are in the description box below, and I will see you guys for next week's video. Bye!